these are the gauges I'm going to put in the dash. I've already got the tachometer sort of squared away in that gauge bezel cluster, if you will. I'm going to put a volt gauge and an ampere gauge into the actual dash part itself, underneath where the radio would be. Alright, here's my dash. It's actually sitting on the middle seat. Goes to the bus, the box. A little bit of white paint there by accident. That happens sometimes. The dash is actually not in bad shape, and it's not cracked. I've gone through, I fixed some of the splits that we had in here. Surprisingly enough, a little bit of crazy glue and some goop. There's the little boom box. That's not the radio or anything, that's just the outside radio. So I'm thinking about putting the gauges, or both gauges I should say, the volt and the ampere gauge down here. Like maybe one like about there. Yeah, one there, and then one over here. And there might be enough room for one in the middle if I decide to go that route, because I don't want to put one like right there and then one right next to it, because then there will only be two gauges. I like gauges. I'd like to have volt gauge, ampere gauge, and a mechanical, actually no, I'm sorry, the video oil pressure sender gauge, so I can know it to make sure at least I have some oil pressure or oil temperature. More than likely oil, well, I don't know, oil temp's good. That's what I had in my other car. Well, in my 74 Super Beetle. My 74 Super Beetle I had volt gauge, ampere gauge, and then in the center of the 3 gauge cluster. Of course it wasn't in the same area, dashes are different, but in the center I went ahead and used the oil temp. I think I got that out of was it 411? No, it was actually a Scirocco. I got it out of a Scirocco, and I got the sending unit out of Scirocco. Sending unit didn't work, so I went ahead and bought the one that actually screws in where your oil sender is, with a 2-pole. Anyway, so I'm thinking I can set them here. Here's one. I'll do the other one on the other side and do one in the center. I want to keep the radio hole for the radio. I can't talk today, so it should fit pretty good. Yep, it's gonna be kind of tough. Drilling holes in this stuff is kind of aggravating. Got to use a hole saw, go slow, cut through the foam first, and when you get to the metal, go really slow to score it. The metal is not really thick per se, but it is packed with foam, and it can make it kind of difficult. You got to go real slow. If you don't go real slow, you'll start to crack the vinyl. I mean, it's only what, 30 plus years old. Oh yeah, here's a little tip for you. Cigarette lighter hole. I went ahead and kind of touched up, painted a little bit of the dash with some black spray paint. Mountain Dew cap, actually Pepsi cap worked pretty good, kind of cover it up. Anyway, I don't know if you can see this, but if you look in there, it's got the green plastic ring around the inside. So when the light bulb is lit, when I turn the dash lights on, it's gonna have a soft green glow. Probably greenish with kind of a white glow. I like the swing needle style, kind of pointy, and these needles actually kind of match the tachometer. At least they're all white, so everything in the dash cluster is going to be white, so it worked pretty good. Some people put their gauges up in here and they don't use the radio. They'll make a little plate and they'll put like 3 gauges up in here, and then they'll put the radio inside here somewhere. I've got a radio that fits, so I'm not going to have to hack the dash at all, so I'm just going to keep the radio where it is. And with the gauges being the way they are, they're a little too thick. The plate, I'd still have to kind of go through and cut all this. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to slide the radio in. I have a gauge underneath it. These gauges are a little large enough to where I'll be able to see them when I'm driving. It'll work out pretty good. It'll be volt and ampere gauge. Volt probably here, ampere gauge here. Actually, probably all the way around. Ampere gauge here, so I can see what it's doing. I'm going down the road, and volts is volts, like gauges. And then maybe the center will be the oil temp / pressure, whatever. I haven't decided yet. That's for the future. I think the volts are important. Volts and ampere. I mean, well, I don't know. There's a lot of debate on that. far as which one's most important. Too many gauges are bad. We'll see. I don't know if you can see that or not. I used Sharpie, laid the little rubber washery thing down, kind of traced it out. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be, or I can get an idea how I'm going to go through and do it. With the hole saw, I can actually center it in a circle and drill really slow, so it should work out pretty good. We'll try. Back of my gauge. And my hole saw. This is really hard to do. There. That's perfect, man. Look at that. That's badass. That'll work. Man, I gotta say, my dad has hooked me up with every tool ever known. Well, I shouldn't say known to man, but every tool I need. Look at that, man. Thanks, Bob. Okay, it took about 5 minutes. Drill, slow down, wait. Drill, slow down, wait. Hole saw I have is kind of made for wood, it ain't really made for metal, so I had to go slow. If all goes well, this thing should slide right in. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, it's like magic. A little loose. That's okay though, because I can put that washer behind it. That'll do a pretty good job of holding it in. Plus it's got the little actual, I don't know what you call it, this thing. It's got 2 poles in the back, slides right down. It's got the little claws to kind of grab it and hold it in place. So let's see what's get an idea. All right, 1 gauge, 1 more to go. Yeah, and I think once I get it all tightened down and I kind of press down a little bit, you won't be able to see any of this. And besides, you won't be able to see it unless you're on the floor looking up. So 1 gauge done, 1 more to go. Good luck. Just to give you an idea what you're dealing with, this is actually the back side of the dash. So you have to drill through, hold on, I don't know if you can see that. Hold on, let me switch to macro mode. Macro is your friend. Oh, I guess I was in macro. Sorry about that. Anyway, look, that's what you're dealing with. You've got your vinyl, and then you've got this, what, 1/2-inch layer of, looks like closed cell foam of some kind, and then you've got the metal behind it. And granted, it's not the vinyl and the foam, that's no problem. The metal part, that can be a little aggravating. What I wound up having to do with the second one was I would stop every so often and take a little bit of my bottled water and kind of dump it inside the hole saw, because the hole saw was getting pretty hot. The good thing is that since you're using a hole saw, when you get down into the cup of the hole saw, the foam that you're cutting through actually helps center it and hold everything in place. So it's a pretty easy drill. Just keep it wet every once in a while. See, I didn't do that on the first one, and it grabbed to the very end, and then boom, it just kind of plunked it out of there. Whereas on the second one, just a little bit of cooling only made it, you know, do a little bit. So a little bit of water, whatever. I wouldn't put oil or anything in there. You don't really need it. But yeah, there's a hole. Insert 1 gauge. I thought this little washer thing was to go on the back and kind of hold it in place. It probably could. I'm not going to do that because I like it better sort of sealing everything. Just want to give me a little tighten down there. It'll be nice and flush. Actually, it's pretty flush now, but you know, you won't be able to tell. It'll be no. So anyway, that's what I've got so far. And I know everything is not 100% even, but you know, who can really tell? The distance between here and here, maybe I'm off by, what, 1/8 of an inch, if that. But the radio is going to balance it out. Plus, you know, you kind of work with the distance that you have. You know, it's a little closer on this side, but you also have this over here to offset it too. That's where the cigarette lighter goes. Don't put your finger in there. Oh my God! Okay, anyway, yeah. This is the hole for the rear window defroster, or yeah, switch. Mine actually works. I don't know, so if you have a drill and a hole saw, it's pretty easy to install a couple of gauges. And I've left enough room for one in the center if I want to go that way. I could. Kind of gives it a face. Very nice. Takes about 20 minutes to do this. It's a lot easier to do when your dash is out, that's for sure.